Hey guys, welcome to this week's Wrestling Escape Pod, and welcome to Change. Change is in the air because there is drama happening on the Wrestling Escape Pod. I was fast asleep last night. I was curled up in bed. I had a duvet. I was all snug and warm, and then out of nowhere, my phone started going ballistic, and I reached over and I had a look, and on screen it said Tommy, and I was like, is that Tommy Hilfiger? What Tommy is this? What Tommies do I know? And so I answered, and this little voice at the end of the phone was like, hey Days, it's me, it's
Am I Michael Jackson?
Yeah. That's like, yeah. Shimon Days, it's me, it's Thomas Toy Travels, and I would like to, let's start over, it's me, it's Thomas, and I would like to change the subject. And I was like, okay, what? And that was it, and it was decided that this week was not going to be about SummerSlam. This week is going to be, well, look, Tom, hey, Tom.
What's up?
Thomas, Tomo, why don't you tell the paying public, what it is that this subject is going to be about?
Yeah, so they know from the title and everything.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, I didn't think about that. The title, the thumbnail that's been up. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So this is Raw Underground. So, man, I got to tell you, I am so excited for this. So, first of all, let me introduce Thomas, Tommy, Tom Toy Travels.
I'm here.
How are you, my friend? Shout out to you. How's the vacation?
Shout out is good. Vacation's good. Someone in the chat last time made me realize that I forgot about the United States. That'll return when I return back to my place of home. I'm on vacation. You can't expect me to remember 50 states while I'm on vacation. So
of course,
that's on pause right now.
Yeah. Actually, can I just apologize because I was not in the chat last time. For the first time, I will point out, I did miss it. But yeah, there's been quite a lot of craziness going on in wrestling. And we always air this straight after SmackDown. And on SmackDown, there was kind of a big moment that took place. And so I was trying to get my head around it. I ended up doing some videos. And by the time I was free, unfortunately, the premiere had ended for this. So I do apologise to everyone for not being there. But yeah, I mean, Friday was crazy with SmackDown. And then Raw was crazy to the point where we've actually changed the topic of this video, this premiere, this episode. Yeah. So, man, let's get straight into it, right?
Yeah.
Why are we doing this? What is it about this that made you call me up at 3:33 in the morning?
Because it's campy, it's weird. I don't understand what they're doing. I know you have a better pulse on WWE than me. As a lapsed WWE fan, I'm just like, what the heck are they doing here? What is this? Why? Okay, so I've been getting back into watching wrestling with New Japan and AEW. I've been regularly watching those. And with New Japan, you see matches where it's like Suzuki or something, and they take down guys. It has a real fight feel.
Yeah.
But what I saw last night was like kids fighting in a schoolyard type of real fight feel.
I gotta tell you, I really, really like this conversation. I really like this conversation because I'm on board with it, but I am gonna just tweak that by saying it 100% could be done a lot better. But I'm a massive UFC fan, so I really like MMA fighting. So seeing them do something like this and kind of bring in something a little bit. I mean, I was saying this during the watch along. Raw is meant to be gritty. I mean, Raw was meant to be dirty and gritty and anything goes, and it was live because before Raw, their shows had been like taped. So they would record a show from a house show, pick a couple of matches, and then they'd have Bobby Heenan and Gorilla Monsoon kind of doing like links. Right now, let's go over to Tito Santana versus The Executioner. And then they'd just throw over to a taped match. And that got quite stale. So they went with Raw. They went with this live show. But it is so sterile now. It is so just everything's clean cut, overproduced, so polished that to see something that had a little bit grittier in its presentation. You know, it was in a warehouse backstage, like, and it had like just loads of had that Fight Club feel. It had that Def Jam Vendetta game kind of feel to it. I mean, look, the presentation was completely. Parts of the presentation was good, but the fact that we didn't know the roster, we didn't know the rules, we didn't know the purpose of it, we didn't know how anyone won a fight or why they were even there. We didn't know why Shane McMahon kept jumping into the ring and saying, okay, he's done, when there was a ref that was there to actually do that. Apparently Shane, like, supersedes everything. So Shane is like this demigod that can just jump in and go, no, that's done now. That's done now. He's had enough now. I'm stopping this. Right? We don't know why it was in a wrestling ring that didn't have any ropes on it. We don't know, like, who most of them people were because we've never been introduced to them. We don't know if it's going to be a regular segment, if it's just that week and it's done, or if it's coming back, or... Oh, man, there's so many questions about it. But at its core, I do think there's something there. I do think there's something there. So what was...
Do you think it's...
Go on.
Oh, I think you were going to ask a better question.
I was just going to ask, like, what made you watch it? Because you said that you don't watch so much WWE anymore. So was it a case that you heard about Raw Underground and you seeked it out? Or was it you were just like, let's see what's happening on Raw this week? Or how did you find it?
I think it was more just like checking in on Raw, like checking in on that friend on Facebook that you knew in high school that you haven't seen from in a while. So you decide to go on Facebook and search them out. So that's kind of what happened. And then I saw Raw Underground and I was like, I don't understand it. I don't know what's why are there dancers? Why is Shane McMahon here?
Yeah, we haven't even spoke about them yet. Yeah.
Why is like the camera going so wild?
Yeah.
It was the most overly produced underground thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was underground produced by Kevin Dunn. It was like Kevin Dunn's own little fighting thing in cahoots with Shane McMahon. Because you're right, it was really overproduced, and there was a lot of people on Twitter that were complaining about those camera cuts and those camera angles. A lot of people complaining about the dancing girls, as you can imagine. And I mean, look, there's been complaints everywhere. I've not seen anyone coming out saying that they liked this. I've seen people saying they hated it, and I've seen people saying that it's got potential. I think that I'm in the it's got potential group, but I've not seen anyone saying that's amazing. I hope they just do that exact same thing again next. There's like none of them people seemingly exist. There's a hardcore group of people that absolutely hate this that I would say is probably the majority, and then there's a few saying could be all right with some tweaks. The way I would do this, I would give it half an hour of Raw, maybe the last half an hour, or it could be a case that you have like what you could do is you could have it as a half an hour. So have a massive main event of Raw, but make people wait for that main event. They've got to kind of get through Raw Underground first. Like, you've got to stick around. You've got to watch it to get to Randy Orton versus Edge, or Daniel Bryan versus AJ Styles, or whatever your great big main event is on Raw. We are going to come back to that, but next up, of course, we've got this week's episode of Raw Underground, and I would have it as its own show. I would also have a dedicated roster. Doesn't need to be the biggest roster in the world. It could literally be 8 guys, something along those lines. I think that you could do a little knockout tournament. I think you need a little backstory on all of them. I think that they need to not have it as overproduced. I think you need to get rid of the dancing girls. I think that really, if it had its own ring, I think it could have a nice feel. I mean, this was a wrestling ring without ropes, and it was very obviously a wrestling ring without ropes. So if it had its own space and it had its own time slot, its own roster, they were competing for a championship belt and $1 million or something along. I feel like doing that when I say $1 million, $1 million or something along those lines, you know. Then I kind of feel like there could be something that's there, because I think you've got people like Matt Riddle. You've got some. I mean, that Babatunde guy. I don't know if you saw that big dude that they kind of started it all off with. He's called Babatunde. That's not the name that they gave him. I can't remember the name that they gave him. But he looks legit, man. He looked really good. Like, if he was one of the 8 competitors, I could see it being like, right, tune in to Raw Underground next week. Matt Riddle's going to be making his debut on Raw Underground, and he's taking on Babatunde, undefeated, 3-0, or something like this, you know? I kind of feel like there is something. It kind of caters to a slightly different audience, maybe, but I don't know, man. I think this is going to fail, and after a few weeks, it's gone. That's my gut feeling, but I do think there's something there.
Say, Game Changer Wrestling is killing it with the Bloodsport, based on the Bloodsport film, which is about martial arts to the death. They had Matt Riddle Bloodsport, and then when Matt Riddle got signed, someone else took over. I'm forgetting it, but it's basically that ring with no ropes, and it's shoot style, hard hitting. I think the first one was headlined by, like, maybe not the first one, but the second was Suzuki and Matt Riddle. So as you can expect, it was probably a killer match. And the line between real fight and fake fight definitely gets blurred when they're in the ring. But when these guys were out there, the line wasn't blurred. It was obviously a fake fight, because it was like, yeah, as you said, Shane would just come in and be like, all right, wow. It's like, what happened? I can't even see because the camera keeps moving.
Yeah.
What are you seeing, Shane?
Yeah, I agree with
the
that.
other point is, like, wouldn't people just be like, all right, I'm going to skip the first half hour and watch the second half hour? And also, Raw has a very older demographic, and do older people like violence?
Well, my counter to that would be that it does have an older demographic, but this surely is a way of trying to attract the lost younger audience, because they're going to have to get that younger audience at some point. So UFC is massively successful. MMA, you know, growing, and they do need to try and find a way of tapping into that. They do bring in MMA fighters, obviously, all the time, you know. Sonya Deville, Ronda Rousey, Cain Velasquez, Brock Lesnar, Matt Riddle, you know, the list goes on. But so they have brought in MMA fighters. That hasn't kind of worked to bring over that younger fan base so much. So I think a different presentation, a different flavor, if you will. I think it's worth. I'm not going to say that it's going to work, because honestly, who knows? But is it worth really giving it a good opportunity? I think so. I mean, what have you got to lose? What is there to lose? I mean, ratings are in the absolute toilet at the moment, so they've got 3 hours to play around with. Can we not afford to give half an hour over to this new thing that could catch fire? I mean, honestly, we don't know. Again, I do want to keep coming back to the fact that I completely agree with what you've just said. With it needs to feel more like a shoot. It's obviously not going to be a shoot, but it definitely needs to feel more like a shoot, because this was very obviously staged, and Shane getting involved was stupid, and I hated that. And I do think that there's little tweaks that would have to be made. In regards to, would people just skip it and then come back for the last half an hour? Yeah, they could. Again, I don't know. I would obviously stay for it, and whoever they're trying to attract with this would stay for it. And I think it'd be very interesting to see what is the fall off. What does that actually look like? You know, what is the decrease going into it? And do they then come back for the main event after? Or, you know, is it better to just move it to the last half an hour and, you know, or I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. But this is what I'm saying. I would be, if I was in that company, willing to at least give it a shot. The problem is, this was random segments that you just didn't know when they were going to happen. And when you did get them, they were only like a minute or something. And it was literally like Shane shouting at you. You know what I mean? Like that was it. Yeah, crazy camera cuts, and the presentation was just not there. I can tell you that Shane has actually tweeted out about this today. He's kept it kind of short and sweet. He said, "I hope everyone enjoyed Raw Underground. Lots of work to do, but looking forward to week 2, #WWE Raw." So this very much feels like it's to me it feels like a little segment that's going to be brought in to just give Raw a little bit of an edgier feel. I think that this very much is, do you know what I mean? It's the sprinkles on top of a donut, it's the ice inside of a iced tea. It's not the main focus, but it's just there to kind of add to things. So, I think it's going to come back. And honestly, I'm not expecting any massive changes for week 2. And I'll be surprised if we make it to weeks 5 and 6 at this rate, which I do think would be a shame. Justin LaBar, right now, I really don't want to... I don't know much about this guy, if I'm going to be honest. I know that he's a wrestling journalist. I've no issue with him whatsoever.
Hold on, let me look him up.
Look him up.
Who is this guy?
Who is
Justin LaBar?
LABAR. Yeah, Justin LaBar.
Oh, no. We can't talk. He has a podcast. We can't talk about him.
Oh.
Yeah. We can't be starting podcast wars days.
Yeah, we don't want a podcast war.
So just say,
J.
Another journalist.
Jayla, like J-Lo.
Yes.
Jayla was saying, I am all for... I'll edit all of that out, don't worry. No one will know his name. I am all for WWE trying things. Okay, that's good. Backs are against the wall, and I appreciate it. But the problem with Raw Underground presenting talent in real fight situation is you completely undermine and devalue the rest of the show with traditional pro wrestling offense, story, and selling. Now, the reason why I wanted to just touch on that is because I disagree with that. Because if you honestly thought that Raw Underground was being presented as a real fight situation, then you've
What
never...
those girls?
What is he watching? What is he watching?
Yeah, my dad texted me today and was like, dude, you see those real fights on WWE TV last night? Oh my gosh, they filmed that in a real basement.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. Dana White has tweeted out that he's going to be folding the UFC now after what he's said. It's wrapping up. It's done. The UFC is done. Them real fight situations that we got presented. How are they meant to live alongside the traditional pro wrestling?
Yeah, it's like Charlie Sheen once watched a horror movie and called the cops because he thought it was real. And
yeah,
I feel like that if Charlie Sheen watched that, he would have called the cops because of real unauthorized fights.
Yeah. It was that tweet did make me smile. But I mean, I disagree with it anyway. Even if it had been presented and was even more like convincing, I still disagree, because I think that it's there to give a different flavor. I think they're saying, look, what happens in the ring is presented as real. Yeah, they're really fighting in the wrestling ring. But there's rules, there's count-outs, there's disqualifications, there's ropes, there's a commentary team, yeah? And it's very different. It's a different sport, if you will. Like, that is professional wrestling. What we're doing over here is not professional wrestling, but this is, a different flavour. I don't mind that. I keep coming back to the fact that I don't mind it. I don't mind them trying to give us something a little bit different. Did you see...
So would you...
Oh, go on.
Did I see what?
Did you see, and I don't think you will have, but did you see the Fight Pit match in NXT? No, it wasn't that long ago. It was only a couple of months ago. Timothy Thatcher versus Matt Riddle in something that was called a Fight Pit, and it was really good. It's a really good. Yeah, you got to check it out. It's NXT. It's a cage around the ring, and then at the top of the cage they've got like a platform, a walkway all the way around. So you've kind of got two levels that you can fight on. And you don't escape. There's no door to try and escape from. There's no climbing up the cage to try and escape. It's you're locked in, and it's like MMA fighting kind of. It's something that they tried down in NXT that got universal praise. People were like, "Man, I hope we see some more of those." And there was people on the watch along last night saying, "Why don't they take that Fight Pit and use that as the arena for Raw Underground and maybe present things that way?" Which honestly, I think would be really, really cool. I like the Fight Pit though. I think that that's just a really great concept anyway. So I don't know if it would lose its appeal, if it would get devalued, if you saw it every single week on Raw. But I think it would definitely help Raw Underground, because a wrestling ring without ring ropes just didn't look great.
Like, yeah. Back to what you were saying, because I'm kind of getting vibes that Actually, I'm going to stop that sentence there and just ask you a question, because I don't know where I was going. Would you prefer it to be legit UFC, or would you rather fake?
No, it's got to be fake. It's got
to be fake. You can't bring paintball to a laser tag arena.
Watch me. That's exactly what I do.
So, like,
I play my own game. No, look, yeah, it's got to be fake, because if they're gonna do real, you've got the UFC. Right, and they're not going to attract the talent that the UFC. And then I start to agree with what Jayla was saying earlier, in the sense of, you can't present this as it's real, wink, wink, yeah. But then actually, no, this is real, right? Like, there is no wink, wink. This is actually real, but this is also real. You can't. Yeah, I completely understand. You can't do that. But
so they can't be you with that paintball gun at the laser tag venue?
No, unfortunately not, because the UFC are going to do that better. So paintball, that's right, yeah. Dana White running around, Conor McGregor running. And you've just got Shane with a pea shooter.
All right, guys. Okay.
Is that enough? Here's the dancing girls.
Yeah, you gotta get on there.
You gotta imagine you and me on that.
So good. Yeah, it would be like Magic Mike 3.
Oh, that was so weird. Nice. That was so bizarre. Having them there. I mean,
and then, like, they started fighting. Not like fighting, but they started like, and I was like, what is this? What is this?
Yeah, just what? I mean, that was. And we haven't even spoken about what I think was the worst part of it, out of all of it, was the fact that they did these segments. There was actually a few moments in it I was like, yeah, man, this is what I'm saying. There was a few moments I was watching going, this is all right. You know? Like, Babatunde looked great. He looked legit. Like, that is exactly the gimmick he needs to have. Whether Raw Underground folds or not, when he actually does go to Raw and walks out, he needs to look exactly like that because he looked immense. So I was really into, like, the Babatunde guy. But I really did like as well just some of the action that they did, and a few. I mean, yes, got stopped early by Shane and all of that, but some of the striking wasn't the best and whatever. But some of the moves, like some of the big moves that they were hitting, and it was like, I think, was it Eric that did like a single arm power bomb? The guy like jumped onto his arm and he just picks him up, slams him down, and you could kind of really hear the impact from that. And there was a couple of things that I thought was really good. So yeah. But then we get to the end. And the end is where the Hurt Business arrive, which I keep saying is basically the Lost Paramore album. Like, it's one of the worst group names ever. The Hurt Business. So they rocked up. And did you see this bit that had MVP
yes,
and Bobby?
All bits.
Yeah. So MVP, Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin, they rocked up and they decimated it. They destroyed it. Like, who wants to have a go? Come on, then. People were stepping up. Boom, gone. You're dealt with. Right? They were grabbing people from the audience, beating them up. Then they were all working together. And, like, the rest of the crowd just ended up, like, filing off and walking away. So, in that one segment, they managed to take this group, this faction from Raw, put them into this Raw Underground thing, and just wreck the whole thing, bury everyone, destroy everything. Man, I was like, well, they've killed it. That's it. I mean, it's done. I mean, what are we gonna do now? Unless next week we're gonna get, because I didn't see Babatunde at the end, so unless we're gonna get like Babatunde against Bobby Lashley on Raw Underground, I mean, I don't know. But
isn't it already filmed too?
It's already filmed?
Yeah.
What, next week? I don't think next week's is.
I think it is.
Oh, is it? Is it? Oh, no, you could be right. Yes, you could be right, because I think they did do 2 episodes in a row, didn't they?
Yeah. So we gotta wait 2 weeks to see how they change it. Unless they just totally cut it and they'll be like, next week, the return.
Well, Shane said that he's looking forward to week 2, didn't he? So kind of teasing maybe that it is going to be coming next week. The other thing I just wanted to touch on was, I think we have already touched on it, but the fact that so many people are claiming this idea. So there's a tweet that went out from Kate NYX that got a lot of traction. And she used to work for Chikara. Well, I believe that she worked for Chikara. I actually don't know who she is, but hopefully she hasn't got a podcast. But anyway, she says, honestly, this is making me sad. I watched so many people come together to make the Crucible what it was. I considered myself lucky in some ways to be a part of it. In many ways, I was proud of our work. We've had things stolen by WWE, but this hurts. Hashtag Raw Underground. Now, I was looking into this because it's like, I don't know anything about Chikara and I don't know anything about the Crucible, but I looked into it and apparently this was a story that was a big part of one of their seasons, and this was a secret training program for a group. And they had a ring that didn't have ropes. They had people around the edge banging on the ring. And they had very, very similar rules. The only difference, seemingly, was that they had a clock that counted down 2 minutes. That was the time limit. But pretty much everything else was the same. And what makes this even cheekier is Chikara. Unfortunately, they folded now. They've gone out of business. They're done. They wrapped up this year. But earlier this year, I think it was, they actually submitted a video to WWE for consideration of being allowed onto the network. You might remember WWE was looking at doing like different pay brackets for the network. So you had like a free version, you had the standard version, but then there was like a premium option. The premium option was going to have independent wrestling on it. And one of the companies that wanted to go on was Chikara. And to apply for that, they provided tape. And apparently this was on one of the tapes. So they are legit like, yeah, this has been stolen from us. Like 100%. It was on the tapes that we submitted earlier in the year. And now they folded. In June, I think they folded. So now they've gone out of business. So WWE can't be sued for stealing this. I mean, honestly, you do have to look at it and go, it's interesting timing, isn't it? That's it. That's interesting. I understand, like, Matt Riddle claiming it as well with the Bloodsport thing. And I understand that has also got a lot of similarities. But I think, I mean, in all fairness, I do think there's a lot of crossover here because I was watching it and I saw Fight Club. I'm sure a lot of people saw Fight Club. And as we said, you know, Def Jam Vendetta, very much kind of coming through strong. And as we said, Matt Riddle and that Chikara thing as well. So, yeah, it was.
And if you watch, like, I was just looking up clips of Bloodsport. It's not exactly a wrestling ring, but it's a white mat that they fight on, a little curved, but there's like no ropes, no ring posts or anything. So one could say that might be an influence, but certainly many ideas come from different things. But also, we can't say that people can't steal ideas because without stealing ideas, there's no progress. I'm from America, a country built on stealing ideas of other countries. I live in New England days. New England. Just put the word new in front of it and you're good.
Yeah. That's, I mean, I live in Old England and I can tell you it's knackered over here, so I might jump over and move to New England as well. In regards though, right, because I do find this such an interesting subject. What would you do with it? I'd be really interested to know, like, so say WWE give you a bell after this, so they watch this podcast. We already know that they do. They watch this, they get in touch and they're like, look, we know that you weren't quite on board with what you'd seen so far, but we're going on holiday and we would like for you to run this for the next few weeks. What are you going to do?
I wouldn't separate it from the rest of the show because I feel like that was a problem with 205 Live. I wouldn't exactly have it be segments. I would have it have exclusive roster. Like, I'd love to see Shayna in there. And, of course, Matt Riddle, Timothy Thatcher, like people who can really make it seem like a real fight. Daniel Bryan, Drew Gulak, who know how to contort the human body and make it look really painful. And if that's what they're going for, if they're going for like underground people actually fighting, I'm more interested in like the more psychological aspect of tearing someone apart. And sure, you can just have people throwing punches or something, but when you watch a Zack Sabre Jr. match and he's like contorting people, you know, like, I feel the pain, and that's like the type of thing I want. I want to see like people fake beating each other up and that, and I'd make it like totally different style, no headlocks and rest holds, stuff like that, just totally different, kind of like NXT, except more hard hitting and more psychological. You?
Well, I mean, look, you I can't remember your exact quote, but I think you just said something along the lines of, I'm interested in the art of tearing someone apart. And I've got to be honest, I only got as far as that quote, and I was just like, this is terrifying. Like, legit now, that is... I'm starting to fear for my own safety. Like, I am definitely not coming to New England anymore. Not after you've just uttered the line, I'm more interested in the art of tearing someone up. I hope you don't put that in your Christmas cards. Dear Janice, Merry Christmas. P.S. I'm really interested in the art of tearing someone apart. Lots of love.
Yes.
Tommy Toy Travels. Wonderful.
Yes.
I agree with what you said. And actually, do you know what you just said that I really liked? It wasn't the art of tearing someone apart line. It was the 205 Live being separate and that being a problem, because I think you're absolutely right. That was separate. And I agree it was a problem. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to work as well. Maybe it could. Maybe it's going to be next week. We've got Bobby Lashley against Babatunde, but it's a Raw Underground match, and so you advertise it like you do every other Raw match, but you're also saying it's not going to be taking place in the wrestling ring. It's going to be taking place in... I wish it had a name as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, you've got a wrestling ring and you've got a Zorb or something. I don't know what word you could go with, but yeah, like, I kind of feel like it would need to... Well, the Fight Pit, if they did go with the Fight Pit, you know?
That would have been cool, yeah.
Yeah, that would have been cool. So, I do feel like there's something there, but I've just got zero confidence that WWE are going to find whatever it is.
Yeah.
Zero confidence, but
the girls, the dancing girls, I always come back to that. Like, when was that a good idea? Why?
Well, I think that they know that the Attitude Era is what a lot of lapsed fans want back. Do you know what I mean? Like, a lot of fans...
So they brought in Nitro girls?
They brought in dancing girls, that's right, yes, to bicker on stage, because that's what fans want. I mean, I think I don't know. I think that you could have dancing girls if that... Honestly, if it did something and it actually catered to someone, then fine, you can have them, right? But I think you've got to have dancing guys as well. In 2020,
Magic Mike.
This is how we're getting on the show, Tommy.
Yep.
This is how we're getting on the show, because we ain't fighting, right? So unless we're going to go to referee school, or maybe we could just be at the edge of the ring, just banging on the edge of the ring. Yeah. Maybe we could do that. I can do that. I could
probably too.
Yeah, but no, I think you can have the dancing girls, but you got to have the dancing guys in 2020. So yeah, it's very, very interesting. Very interesting. I really hope that they can find a way forward with it, because right now, sitting here, I'd say the favourite outcome, the likely outcome, is it gets axed, it gets dropped, and never spoken about again. Like, you know, it'll last 3-4 weeks, and it's done. What I will say, though, is that Raw this week did decent ratings. So, literally moments before we started recording, I was on Twitter and saw the Raw ratings had come out. And the Raw ratings have been absolutely atrocious. I can't remember WWE ever getting below 2 million. And since, like, during lockdown and everything, it's been around 1.5. It's been atrocious. And this week, they managed to get 1.7. So they managed to get a couple of 100,000 extra. But they not only heavily teased Shane was going to make an announcement, and then all of the wrestling journalists were like, I can't wait to see how they're going to do this. I'm not going to spoil it, but you do not want to miss whatever Shane is about to say if rumours are true. So a lot of the wrestling journalists did WWE's work for them as well, because WWE didn't come out and announce Raw Underground before. We didn't know what the announcement was going to be, but the wrestling journalists were like, you're not going to want to miss this. There's people backstage that are really scratching their heads over this one, and that drummed up a lot of intrigue. So I don't think 1.7 is coming back next week, unless they do something else to try and attract viewers again. But yeah, from what I've seen, people, you only get one chance to make that first impression. And I think you have to say they blew it. I think you have to say that they blew it. So, I don't know, man. I don't know how it's going to look. Did you see as well, just kind of off the subject a little bit, but still on the subject of this week's Raw, did you see the new faction that
they're so scary.
Now, aren't they?
Yeah. I was shaking in my boots, dude.
Yeah.
I was on a Zoom call for work, and someone came on the call, and they were like, my mic's not working. I was like, it's the faction. Get safe. They might destroy something out. They might push over boxes. Watch out. Days. Yeah. I think I'm their next target. I have boxes in my house.
Do you know what you've got? You've got a big bag of rice that is just asking to be pushed over, aren't you?
No.
Honestly, do you know how long that's going to take to pick up the whole bag?
All 5 or 6 of them will have to do it.
Yeah. I love that. In my mind right now, there's 5 or 6 people just hurtling themselves at this big bag of just bouncing off it. Like... Have you started it yet? How do you even start it? I don't know. Do you just get a cup of it? Or...
I had it for dinner tonight. Basically, what I did was I got a bunch of miniature gallon bags. Well, not miniature, but gallon bags. And I took a bowl and just scooped, put it into the gallon bag, and did that for like 10 minutes, and then it's all separate, so I don't have to use the huge bag.
Oh, wow, there we go. Sounds like a riot round yours.
There's the things I do outside of the podcast. You have no idea, man. You have no idea the things I'm up to. I did laundry today.
Whoa.
I didn't actually. I haven't done laundry this week.
And how are the bike travels as well? Because obviously, for those people that maybe are new to the podcast, Tommy purchased a bike, a push bike, as we established a couple of weeks ago. And we saw a picture, didn't we, last week of you with
we did.
Sherwood, I believe the name is. So how's that been treating you?
Thank you for remembering. I have some bad news.
Oh, what's up?
Sherwood recently, she's okay now, but had to replace the brakes.
What, already?
It was a used bike.
Oh, okay. Right.
Yeah, so they were on their last leg.
Right. Okay.
And
how did you discover that?
I was biking, and every time I go hit the brake, it would go like... And I was like, I don't think that's good.
No. Well, at least you weren't hurtling down the side of a hill or something. Do you know what I mean? That's what I was thinking. In my head, I've got you going... I mean, we can laugh now because obviously you see, unless we can't see your legs, you might be there in like half a body cast or something. Sat there. If only the camera would pan round. Tommy's actually in hospital. Yeah, kindly still recording his thoughts about Raw Underground. Right. Well, I think we're done for this week. I gotta tell you, man, I really, this is one of my favourite ever episodes. One of my favourite ever episodes. I was talking to Tommy, like, honestly, when me and Tommy meet up to record these, we literally just go, you alright? Yeah, alright. Should we start recording? Yeah, let's start recording. Because we know that, like, we could sit and just talk for ages, and there'll be, like, loads of stuff that will end up be like, oh, we should have said that on the podcast. Like, people would have loved that conversation. So we've got it so where, as soon as we meet up, we just hit record. And the only thing I did say to him before was that it's so nice to not have, like, loads of facts and loads of... Because, like, a lot of these episodes are so information heavy. And honestly, the feedback from people is that they absolutely love that. And, they like to have a laugh along with us, but, learn a couple of things as well. A few facts and things that maybe they didn't know before. Certainly, as I'm researching, I'm finding out loads of stuff that I didn't know. So hopefully that comes across in the episodes. But, it's quite freeing. I'm feeling quite free this week to just sit here and just, have a good laugh and just talk about the madness, the absolute insanity that was Raw Underground. So, yeah, enjoyed it. So, have you got any plans coming up over the next few days? Have you any plans to go home as well? Because you are technically on vacation, aren't you?
Oh, my aircon broke, so I considered going back, but it got fixed. So
okay, right.
This is really quality podcast discussion right now. Yeah, Daze, my air conditioner broke. I was a little nervous about that. I talked to my dad on the phone today.
Yeah.
He's doing well.
Was that whilst you was measuring out your rice?
Yep. No plans. No plans at all. Oh, I got a dermatologist appointment coming up in a week, so I got that to look forward to. Excellent. Shout out to my derm. Yeah. It's a new one, so I don't know who it is.
Okay. Excellent. Yeah. Very what exciting.
About you?
Me?
Any exciting days?
No, never.
More streams.
More streams every day. I mean, there's wrestling all the time. Obviously, we've got a lot going on with like NXT, AEW. We've got SmackDown coming up, UFC every Saturday now. I mean, like, UFC is back with a vengeance. So they're putting on tons of shows at the moment. Some massive shows coming up from them. So, yeah, I mean, just things. I mean, for whatever reason, the world shuts down. But wrestling just absolutely has not. Wrestling has, if anything, just gone, this is our time to shine. Bring it on! Just like this. So, just like, yeah, they're really ramping things up. There's like, I saw like the Gallows and Anderson did their own wrestling pay-per-view thing the other day. Impact seemed to be throwing out shows left, right, and Buffalo. And obviously AEW doing a lot of stuff as well. News about NWA coming back. New Japan. I get so many people saying, you've been watching New Japan, haven't you? Didn't you say you've been watching a bit of New Japan? Yeah. How have they been doing since they came back?
It's New Japan. And like I said, I like the art of tearing people apart. And you don't need an audience for that. I know.
Yeah, I mean... I didn't think you could make that line any scarier, and you found a way. You don't need an audience for tearing people apart. Well, I'm going to let you go and have your nice Chianti. So, Tommy's done one! Tommy's done one! There's drama at the end of the wrestling escape pod! No! Look at that. You make fun of someone, you poke fun of, and they storm up. That is the biggest diva moment that we have. I'll tell you what's happened, Thomas. I'll tell you what's happened. You stormed off. You hit the kill switch. The truth was getting exposed, wasn't it? Things were getting a little bit uncomfortable for you.
What we were talking about.
Yeah, of course.
Discord crashed.
Even Discord is like, this needs to end. I can't cope with any more talk about breaks and rice. Right, guys, we are done for this week. Thanks a lot for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this very special episode. I think it's SummerSlam next week, but who knows? Who knows at this stage? It'll almost certainly be about bikes, rice, and other madness that's going on in our worlds right now. So thanks a lot for watching. I hope you had a great time, and hopefully see you again next time. Bye for now.